Hey everyone, here I am in the dark parking garage of the soul. Time to obsess over Batman and Robin number 34. There's a lot to obsess over in here, although I'd like to make it fairly quick. I'm near the end of my lunch break. This is kind of a interesting issue in many ways. We still haven't got to Apocalypse. Batman's still setting things up. I still feel like the previous issue where he went up against the Justice League and wanted to get his super bat suit and they wouldn't let him was kind of a letdown episode after what for me was a letdown Robin Rises Omega, although I know a lot of people found some good things to like in that. But so I was just on the edge of switching to trades, or so I thought. I'm always thinking about switching to trades. Those who watch a lot of my videos may notice. And but this issue had a lot of interesting stuff. It was very well written, very well drawn. It turned a number of things upside down on their heads and then turned them back up around again and upside down again, I guess, in my opinion. The major beats of the story are a long chat of Batman with the Bat family, where he brings them up to speed and kind of ends the conflict that was created by Scott Snyder in his Joker arc, The Death of the Family, where the Joker divided up the family against Batman, the Bat family against Batman, by revealing some sins of omission, some lies, you might say, that Batman left between them. And I guess it's up then, rather than dealing with that, there's been very little dealing with that huge event of the death of the family since. We've hardly seen that the family's really dead. But anyway, Tomasi picks up after Snyder's mess and seems to fix it all up and have Batman tell the Bat family he's turning a new leaf, and all of that's good stuff. And it's done very convincingly. It's kind of moving. They all take off their masks. And then he tells them all about his plans to go to Apocalypse. We think that he's leading up to asking them for their help, but he's just letting them know what's going on and then telling them to guard Gotham. And as you know at this point, I spoil things in these Bat Obsession videos. The art is fantastic by Patrick Gleason. He definitely has his up and down months, and this is a very up month. And as soon as the rest of the Bat family leaves, Dick Grayson appears. Dick Grayson, who Batman has convinced to go undercover in this evil super spy agency called Spiral, pretend that he's dead, let everyone except Batman believe he's dead. I don't know if Alfred knows he's alive. I think maybe Alfred does. No, maybe not. So he arrives and has another discussion with Batman. Nowhere in this book do they directly address the fact that Batman just said he's no more lies, unconditional truth, no sins of omission anymore with the rest of the Bat family. And here is an even bigger sin of omission than the one that originally broke up the Bat family, which is that he knows Dick Grayson is alive, and everyone else has had to grieve over him being dead. We've seen Batwoman do it in various books, Red Robin. I think I've seen other characters feeling affected by the death of Dick Grayson in their comics. So this is a huge lie, in my opinion. So healing the rift of death in the family to reveal a much bigger potential rift. If they're put off by him lying about having a clue that the Joker might possibly know where the Batcave is, how are they going to feel when he's let them all grieve for someone they all love, for just to send him off on a secret mission, and that he didn't trust them to let them know that he was alive. So that's, I'm pretty sure Tomasi must know what he's doing here. But it's done with such a straight face. We're now made, Batman's made out to be much worse of a liar than ever, in the sense of promising not to lie, when this big lie, he knew Dick Grayson was up above, hiding up in the Batcave, until everyone else left. He could hear his stomach grumbling. Why when no one else could it? Yeah. So, you know, we start with this powerful stuff, and then it's all undercut. You almost wonder if they made a mistake and they didn't even realize how they were undercutting it. We'll never know unless we see some kind of interview with the editor or Tomasi on this particular subject, which I doubt we will. I haven't seen a lot of interviews with Tomasi. Then we get a... so while I'm being... So that's either my big appreciation of this book or my big problem with it. It's hard to say which. But so he asks Dick Grayson to use his spiral connection to create these illusions, these traps for the big, most powerful members of the Justice League, to distract them so they're all off in different parts of the world. When I read Grayson, Agent of Spiral, I don't get the sense that he has access to all of Spiral's stuff. And he certainly has to tread very carefully so that no one suspects him of having any other motivation than just working for Spiral, right? I mean, I think in Spiral he's still a little bit of a questionable figure. They're still kind of testing him out. So it seemed kind of a convenient thing. They probably felt, you know, here we can bring in Dick Grayson and we have a use for him in the overall plot. That's just being super picky, but I like to be super picky in these videos, just for fun. It's fun to obsess over it. The other thing is, again, from my sense of Grayson and Agent of Spiral, they're so cautious about contacting each other at all. Would Dick Grayson go to the Batcave? Would that be worth the risk of Spiral somehow seeing him go to or leave the Batcave, or know that he's somewhere where he's not supposed to be when they're tracking him? So those are just little niggling things where I felt like Tomasi's version of what Grayson's position in Spiral is a little different than the sense I get from Grayson's own book. That's a very minor quibble. And so with Grayson's help, he does distract all the Justice League members while he once again invades the satellite, the Watchtower, whatever they call it at this point, with just Lex Luthor and Captain Cold there. And there's a really kind of, especially because of the way it's drawn, wonderful confrontation with Lex Luthor, in which Lex decides to help him. And I certainly found this kind of interesting and satisfying in a number of ways, although I'm not sure why they did all this runaround of Batman trying to get the Justice League to help him and failing basically in 2 whole issues, or 1, anyway, and then coming back to it this way. So anyway, yeah, I liked that part, but it did still feel like I've just been waiting 4 months for Batman to go to Apokolips. My own personal fantasy of Batman going to Apokolips was not in some big super suit, but in a super stealth mode, where he would go to Apokolips, disguise himself as one of the residents of Apokolips, move his way up through the sort of underbelly of Apokolips, get a little Batman tour of, something much worse than Gotham, a little apocalyptic Darksidian hell, and then work his way into where Robin is, I guess in the Royal Palace, wherever Darkseid's son is, And so see him do that, almost Batman as a super spy in Apocalypse. That's how I would have done it. Where they're going to go with this super suit, I'm very curious to see. Very cool last page. Huge cliffhanger because at last what we want to see with Batman is about to happen. It almost feels like all this stuff leading up could be one trade, maybe one thin trade, and then another trade of, I don't know how long they're going to have Batman in Apocalypse. It's the Batman in Apocalypse I'm really interested in. I would have loved like 5 issues of Batman in Apocalypse, working his way through Apocalypse. Because I've always wanted a real tour of Apocalypse, not just, you know, the big bads and the big goods fighting in Apocalypse, but see the whole workings of Apocalypse. We got little bits of that occasionally in Jack Kirby's Mr. Miracle, I think, and in a few other places. Like in the Tales of the New Gods, sometimes we get more views of Apocalypse. And I think I'm gonna love seeing Patrick Gleason draw Apocalypse, the planet Apocalypse. So, yeah, I feel like I had some other things to pick away at here, but overall, this was an excellent issue. I had trouble accepting it again because of all my fantasies about Apocalypse. I enjoyed Lex Luthor in here. Maybe if I heard Tomasi was taking over the Justice League, I would be interested in the Justice League. I do grab Justice League books here and there in trade. I have the Throne of Atlantis and I have the Trinity War. So I may eventually get more Justice League in trade. And I am intrigued by the Luthor in the Justice League. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that. Some people didn't notice that Batman was actually lying still. Did you notice? Do you feel he really was still lying, or is this some kind of exception where it's not going to create problems when people find out? I don't know. Talk to you all later. Bye-bye.